Hello, people. Yeah, welcome to ProUp Masterclass. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi. And for those of you that have been following ProUp Masterclass closely, whether on Spotify or whatever platform you listen to it on, you would realize that I've been putting out a lot of podcasts. So the intervals have been very short. Some of them have been back to back. So I've been putting out almost daily. I feel a need to say this right here. Do not feel a pressure to listen to every single podcast. Please do not make my podcast a distraction to what you have to do with your life. And I really feel I need to say this because I have some people reach out to me just telling me, "Oh, you've been putting out a lot of podcasts. I've been finding it hard to catch up," and I'm like, "You don't need to catch up with anything." Um, I think with my podcast, if you listen to it, just look at the subject matters I'm talking about and choose which one you want to listen to. You do not have to listen to every single one. Remember, this teaching, recording this podcast, teaching is my assignment. It's what God has put on my mind to do. It is my burden to carry. And I love it, you understand? Don't make it yours. Don't make it yours. You understand? Don't make it a distraction from doing yours. So I don't expect anyone to spend all their time listening to my podcast. I honestly don't expect you. I expect my podcast to be able to be a springboard for you to launch what it is you want to do, to give you some courage, to give you some hope in going for that thing that it is on your own heart to do. So yeah, please don't feel any burden to listen to every single podcast I put out there, especially when I'm in a period like this where they're all quick fire podcasts I'm putting out there. I don't want anyone to feel a burden to listen to every single one. I'm doing it for myself, to just really unburden myself of a lot of thoughts I have, so that they don't get clogged up and I don't have a backup. Please don't make it clog up your mind, because there is such a thing as information overload. And with a podcast like ProUp Masterclass, where I teach a lot, it can get very dense, and you can get a lot of information overload. So I'll advise and prescribe that you listen to it. You give yourself some time for each podcast to simmer, to for you to absorb whatever has been said in whatever podcast you listen to, and don't inhale everything. You understand? Don't inhale everything, or else you find yourself not getting anything from the podcast. And the importance of this podcast is of recording in the first place. Why am I'm not doing like lives, or why it's a podcast is so that you can listen to it anytime. You can listen once a month, once a week. Whatever you have there, whatever I put up there is probably going to be there next year, next 2 years, hopefully next 10 years. So do take your time to listen to it and don't feel any pressure to catch up with content. All right, that said, I just felt a very, very huge leading to say that to somebody out there. That said, today I want to talk on the subject matter of parenting, something that has to do with parenting, and I'll be calling this class "Why You Shouldn't Expose Your Kids to Poverty." And just today, I wrote something on Twitter, and what I wrote was, "Never teach a child the worth of money till you are sure they understand the worth of self." Never teach a child the worth of money till you are sure that the child understands the worth of self. And I've forgotten what podcast it was that I recorded, but I remember saying this: never introduce a child to money. You understand? Very early on, at least don't introduce them to money before you introduce them to themselves. Don't let a child really know the in and outs of money till they know the in and outs of who they are. Never teach a child financial intelligence before emotional intelligence. You understand? So that's very important. A lot of people propagate early teaching of children about finances. I don't think it's right. You understand? I don't think, because money is a big subject matter, and as I've said in most of my podcasts, that it can be an accelerator, and it can also be a retardator. What if there's a word like retardator? It can be something that can help you, and some that can retard you. You understand? It's something that can give you clarity, and it can also be something that can give you a huge amount of confusion. And so with children, you want to be very slow in introducing them to this world of money. Um, and so I truly believe the first thing you need to show a child is to have self-worth. Self-worth before any type of financial worth. Self-worth that is disconnected from their bank account. You understand? Or how much money they are making. Very important. And someone in my mentoring group reached out to me today and said, what if your parents have already introduced you to money very early? You understand? Um, the need for money. What if you've been exposed to that very early? What do you now do? And he went on to just tell me about how that has affected his life and made him very money conscious and made him very money insecure. And he really doesn't, it's hard for him to identify what his true passion is, because he's always thinking about, is it going to pay me? How much is it going to pay me? You understand? So money has become a very huge yardstick for his participation in life. You understand? So is he's thinking about, hey, is this thing paying me? Does it pay me enough? And because of that, he has become very um he has some negative emotions towards people that seem to have a lot of money, and they seem less deserving than him, because he feels like he has had to sacrifice a lot um, of his own personal resources to get ahead in life. And he kind of sees some people just see money handed over to them, and it's like, why should they have it? You understand? I gave up a lot, I should be ahead of this person. So you see, that has been ingrained in him as a child, that money is a validator of self. So when you see somebody else that makes more money than you just easily believe that they are better off in life, they are better people, they have they are better favored. You understand? And then there's some envy that you begin to develop towards these people. Now, why I say it's a dangerous thing to introduce a child to poverty. Very dangerous. And the duty of every parent is to shield their children from poverty. I think a lot of people might not understand where I'm going with this, and I'm going to try to clarify this. That number one, poverty is not being able to afford certain things. You understand? That's not poverty. It's not your inability to afford things. You understand? So when your child says, "Oh, I want to buy some new shoes," and you say, "Oh, we can't afford this right now," that is not introducing your child to poverty. You understand? I think that might even be a good thing, to be able to introduce your child to life's challenges. You understand that life comes in ups and downs, and there are times when you have a lot, there are times when you don't have a lot. So that's not what I mean. That's perfectly okay. I truly believe in some level of transparency with kids from very early on, and telling them, "Oh, that family can do that right now, but we at this point cannot do that right now." You understand? I cannot buy you this pair of boots right now, but maybe next month. You understand? But I can't do this right now. We can't do this right now. We cannot spend our money on this right now. It's okay. I totally believe that we must bring our children down to earth by letting them know what we can or cannot afford at the moment. I think it's very important to say at the moment. I think when it comes to not being able to afford things, we must never put a full stop to it and saying, "Oh no, no, in our family we just can't afford that." Full stop. I think it's very important to say at the moment we can't do this at the moment. I can't do this at the moment. Oh, that'll be a little bit tight for me to do at the moment. I can't do this. Very important for us to be able to speak to our kids like that. I believe a child that isn't that you do not communicate with openly and you always just give them what they want when they want it will end up growing up very entitled, very spoilt, very demanding, and very unappreciative. So I think it's important, very important, to be open with kids from very early on. I was just talking to my friend earlier today, and he was talking about his son, and he says when he goes to the mall with his son before they leave the house, on a day when he doesn't want to spend, he just tells him, "Look, we are not spending anything today. We are not buying anything. So we are just going to walk through." He tells his son that we're not his young son, we're not going to walk through. So don't point to any toys. We're not buying anything today. And so when they go into the shop and the attendants at the shop try to say, "Oh, aren't you buying this?" He tells them, "We already have an agreement. You have an agreement, we are not buying anything today." And the son understands that. And I think that's a very, very good way of teaching children that life is not about buy, 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 spend, 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 get, give, give it to me, give it to me. It's not that. So I do believe it's important for us to be open with children. So you might ask yourself, what do I mean by shielding your children from poverty? If it's okay to tell your children you cannot afford some things at the moment, and I'll tell you what I mean. But first of all, I want to talk about a movie that I watched many years ago. And I don't know if anybody would have access to this movie anymore, but this movie puts a lot of context to what I'm going to say right now. Um, the movie is called um, Life is Beautiful by Roberto Benigni. Life is Beautiful. It's directed by directed, written, and the guy even acted in the movie, Roberto Benigni. It's an incredible movie. I watched it many years ago. I think the movie was released in 1997, and it's a good movie. I would advise you, if you can get it, to watch it. You understand? It's an incredible movie. It's a very emotional movie, but then it teaches a very deep lesson. And the synopsis of the movie is pretty much an Italian Jewish waiter. Um, and this was in the 1940s when the Second World War broke out. It's a story about an Italian Jewish waiter who meets a beautiful woman, and before the war, and they have a son together, and then the world goes to hell virtually, you understand, when the war breaks out, where the Germans start attacking countries around them, and this Jewish family, this young Jewish family, this man, his wife, and his very young son were captured. And like most Jews then, the ones that were not executed were taken to concentration camps, and they separated the family at this point. So the wife went with the woman, and the son went with the man. And so this man, what the movie is about this man and his son in this Jewish Nazi concentration camp, and where there was killing every single day. You understand? They were killing a lot of people, a lot of brutality. It was a nightmare. You understand? And for those of you that know about the Holocaust, this movie was set in that time, and the movie kind of tells us about how this man protected his son from this atmosphere of death, death and death and torture and pain and horror. And what he did was, from the moment they came to arrest them, he told the son that they were going to participate in a game, that they were taking them to participate in a game, and the game was about who could rack up points, and who could rack up to 1,000 points. And they could rack up to 1,000 points. At the end of the game, the winner of the game will get a tanker or a tank. You understand? You get a tank, an armor tank, And the son was so excited. Was like, a whole armor tank? He said, yes, you get a whole armor tank. And the son was very excited in playing the game. But he told the son that there are conditions to this game. He said, number one, um, you cannot cry. You understand? The person that goes around crying is going to lose points. If you don't cry, you won't lose points. You must not complain about being hungry. If you can't if you don't complain about being hungry, you gain points. Once you complain, you lose points. You must be able to hide when your dad tells you to hide, and the person that can hide best gets a lot of points. What else did he tell him? He told him, you cannot ask for your mommy. You understand? Asking for mommy reduces your point drastically, so don't ask for mommy. And he gave this guy these rules of this fictitious game, and the boy was like, he's going to do it. And the whole movie was about how, with every real life occurrence that was terrible, this little boy thought it was a game. And it's an incredible movie. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who decides to watch it. But then that's how they survived the camp. That's how they got through the camp. And at the end of the camp, this boy, when the Allied forces came to rescue them, this boy was happy that he made it through the game. And this occurrence that was a huge black spot in history became a point of he was this little boy was shielded from it. You understand? He didn't he didn't he didn't see the experience as a terrible one. He saw it as a somewhat exciting one. The father knew that this experience, if he didn't shield his son, was going to rob his son of his childhood and will scar him for the rest of his life. And the father did something incredible there by creating this game, this make-believe world. And it cost the father a lot. You understand? It cost him a lot to do this. The father had to suck up a lot of times when he was sad. He couldn't afford to let his son seem sad because he just wanted to protect his son's childhood. And they stayed in that camp for a while. And when they got out, the boy wasn't scarred by that event. Now, this is where I am going. Parents have an obligation to their children. Just like this man did in this movie, Life is Beautiful, to protect and to guard their children from poverty. And as I said, poverty is not, it really isn't your inability to afford stuff. That is life. That happens to everybody. It happens to everybody. You understand? Some worse than others. But then that's not what I'm talking about. I think the poverty I'm talking about is the poverty that robs your child of their childhood. You must protect your child from the poverty that robs them of their childhood. And what I mean is the mentality of, we cannot afford this. And I see a lot of parents do this, especially low-income families. We cannot afford this. So you, as a 5-year-old, you are going to pitch in. You, as a 6-year-old, you will pitch in. You, as a 10-year-old, you will pitch in. And you are going to, because we can't afford this, you can't afford to be a child too. You cannot afford to play too. You understand? You can't afford to play. That means when you come back from school, there's no play. You need to go and sell bread. When you come back from school, you can't do this. You need to go and do this. You need to pitch in. I think my personal opinion is that it's a very wrong move to have kids pitch in because we as parents cannot afford. I think this pitching in mentality of kids does more to destroy the kids than to build their esteem. I actually feel this. This is my personal opinion. I think that in itself is real poverty. The poverty that is so strong that you are going to take the kids' childhood from them. Their childlikeness, their willingness and propensity to play is going to be robbed from them because the family needs more money coming in. I think this is what we need to protect children from, because it damages children. It actually does. You understand? I hear a lot of people talk about it, about how they were supporting their families since they were 10, selling this, doing that. Um, sounds good for as long as the 10-minute video goes. But then what a lot of them don't tell you is how it affects their relationship with money, their view of money, their view of themselves. Um, a lot of people don't talk about that. And I think people need to talk about that some more. Rather than that, oh, I've been working since I was 10, I've been adding to my family, I've been taking care of my parents, since I was 2, you understand? Since I was 12. I don't think it helps the child when the child grows up into an adult. It gives the child a very unhealthy relationship with this thing called money. Most people that I know that started working very early on to pitch in don't have a sense of self anymore. When those people, when they have when they stumble on financial hard times, those are the kind of people that take their own lives, because they feel no sense of identity, no self of worth anymore. Because from very young, they've always felt like their worth was in what they contributed to the family. You see, children look at us adults a lot and they try to please us. It's just how they are. They try to please you as their parents, as their father, their mother. It's how children are. And we as parents, and if you're listening to this, you're not a parent, I want you to keep this in the back of your mind to when you become a parent. Your child is looking for how to please you, looking for your validation. You must be very careful in the things that you validate your child for. That exchange of validation, at what expense does it come? What does the child have to do? And when a child is in a position where he or she has to work for the family, and the only time they see a smile on your face is when they come in with incredible profit, then that child begins to feel like, oh, so that's the value. That's what makes me important. You understand? That's what makes people happy with me. That's what makes me happy with myself. I made this much money and I saw the look on my mother's face. It actually made her happy. It made my dad not shout at me. That was the first time my dad hugged me. The family was so happy. We had a good meal. It's a dangerous thing for a child to have to learn. To learn that they are seen when they bring money, when they add to the family. No child should have to be put through that. That in itself is the ultimate poverty mentality, the one that robs your children of their childhood, robs them from the ability of going out to play in the mud, to build sandcastles, to play football on the street, to play with their dolls, no matter how raggedy they are. I think denying them that and just sending them out into the workforce damages them a lot. It might teach them some entrepreneurial skills, but it damages them as emotional beings, as human beings. They might make incredible CEOs, but a lot of times they make a lot of cutthroat CEOs too. Those that are able to cut off people at the drop of a hat. They have no emotions towards anybody. If you're going to be stopping their company from making money, they might as well just get out of the way. And they're willing to do anything to continue making money because that's their sense of identity. That is what you need to protect your children from. It's very important that parents learn to guard their children from the holocaust of poverty. And as I said, poverty is, you cannot afford to be a child because our family is low income. No, that's very wrong. Parents should be ready to pay the sacrifices if they really want to afford some things. I really feel like parents are the ones to bite the bullet. If they really feel, oh, I really want to afford this thing, don't send the child out. Send yourself out more often. If you need to work 3 jobs, work 3 jobs. If you need to work, sleep less. But don't put it on the child. You understand? If you really feel like, oh, we need to bring in this much money, which I still have a problem with, this whole ambition of you must really live on this level. Um, if you are really going to succumb to your ambition, don't put that on the kid. Put that on yourself. You understand? Put that on yourself. Even though that has its own shortcomings. So which is why I always tell people, don't let ambition lead you. Um, don't be led by a sense of ambition. That's a whole different subject matter. But I would say this: don't put it on the kids. Let kids be kids. It's important to teach children play before teach them the essence of play before teaching them of the essence of pay. Very important. Teach children the essence of play before teaching them the essence of pay. Play is where children find themselves. This is where their character is built, their personality is built, their audacity is built. Teach them that before you teach them how to make money. So that's what I mean by protecting children from poverty. When you rob them of their childhood, the essence of play, you've taken everything from the child. You've taken everything from that child. And that does a lot to destroy the child. It does more to destroy the child. That's what I feel. That's what I think. And that's why you have adults that start looking for themselves in, way into their 20s, their 30s, their 40s. They don't know who they are. You understand? This is why some men, 50-year-olds, have midlife crisis. You understand? Acting like teenagers. 50-year-old man, 70-year-old man acting like a teenager. You understand? Because at a particular point, he was hustling too early. You understand? Hustling. So he lost his formative childhood years. He lost his teenage years, early adulthood. Everything was hustling. So when they finally get to that place of abundance and success at 50, the first thing they are going to try to get is all those years that were lost. And that gets them into trouble more than it does anything to build them up. So yeah, that's my advice for parents. Um, if you are somebody that has been put on that path, like my mentee, you've been put on that path of introduction to money very early. The truth of the matter is, you would have to do a lot of work to detox. It has to be conscious now. It has to be conscious, and you're going to have to do a lot of work. You're going to consciously put yourself out there to do some things for free. You're going to consciously sign up to be a volunteer. You understand? You have to now teach yourself to have some emotional intelligence. You are going to consciously have to understand that money is not everything. You understand? So for these people, these are not the kind of people you tell don't do free work. These are not the people you preach don't do free work to. That's why I don't believe in that message of free work is bad. Not for everybody. Some people need free work so that they can get their mind right. You understand? Very important. We have NYSC in Nigeria now. And one of the things we always had it, but I say now for those that might not be Nigerians, we have NYSC in Nigeria, and it's a time when people get to serve. And I think it's a very important, it has, at the very soul, the scheme is very nice. Just that, insecurity issues and stuff like that make it very risky. But I think at the very core, the concept of NYC is good because it helps people to be in a position for 1 year. And I think 1 year it's long enough time to loosen the grip of a faulty mentality. It puts you in that mindset where you're working in a place and you're working for very little and then you're having to serve. It kind of breaks your mentality about money and putting money in the front passenger or the front driver's seat of your life. It does that. I must say NYC does that. But the thing that NYC has even gotten corrupted now, in the sense that people are now influencing it to get into big paying places and stuff, which still brings us back to square one. But I believe that schemes like that really help. So if you are somebody who has very early on been put in a position where You feel like a lot of your childhood was lost because you had to fend or pitch in for the family. I think you need to do conscious things to give freely. You understand? Conscious things to give freely. You need to now be conscious about building relationships, not for business sake, but just for social, you know, for the social value of it. You understand? Because you actually connect with somebody. It takes time, but in the end, it is possible. And the truth of the matter is, don't think it's just about little children, 6 year olds, 7 year olds. I still even believe that even up to teenage age, we should allow children be children. It's still a child. You understand? Sending a teenager outside to just go start walking, it's it doesn't do a lot of good. You understand? We want our children to experience life as human beings and to understand human values rather than being transactional creatures every time and who only understand bank statements and bank alerts and stuff like that. But those are my thoughts, and I hope it helps somebody listening out there today.